first Saturday of the month, we usually here have a conference about a book written by Saint Francis de Sales. Saint Francis de Sales was a bishop in the 16th century, I think one of the greatest bishops we had in the Catholic Church, about devotion. This book is long. We have this conference since 2 years now. And in this part of this book, Saint Francis de Sales is telling us how to practice virtue in this life. And today, I would like to speak about two other chapters. One about discussion, how we should speak, when we should speak, with who we should speak. And then another chapter about how to dress. Saint Francis de Sales is really speaking about everything, and it's interesting. I will just give you the principles, but after, I think all of us, we need to meditate these words and to try to see how we can apply that in our lives. And about discussion, first of all. Saint Francis called his chapter of society and of solitude. Society and solitude. We have to live in a society. We are human beings. We cannot deny that. Those who deny that, they end up crazy. But we also need to be alone sometimes. We cannot always live in the noise of this world. We need to be alone. And you will see that, as always with Saint Francis de Sales, Saint Francis is asking us to practice virtue, meaning he's asking us to be balanced. The virtue is on the top of a hill, and we can lack of virtue by excess or by default. And it is a problem to all of us. Some people are speaking too much, but some people are not speaking enough. And the virtue will consist in being in the middle. We speak when it's time to speak, and we keep quiet when it's time to keep quiet. And this is what Saint Francis wants to teach us, how to be balanced. There is a time for everything. Everything is important, but everything has to be done well. What is too much or what is not enough is bad. And Saint Francis, in this first chapter, starts to give the principle, and after he will speak about many kinds of discussion we can have. Discussion, bad conversation, conversation during recreation time, conversation that has civility for goal, and useful conversation. And after we'll see how our conversation should be, the qualities of our conversation. So, Saint Francis starts by saying, to look for conversation all the time, to always look for an occasion to speak, or to run away from this discussion are two excesses, is bad. And we need to blame these two excesses for the devotion of those who live in the world. Here it's interesting because Saint Francis is telling us that he is not speaking to the priest and to the sister mainly. He speaks to them, of course, but not only. He also speaks to all of you. Though you are living in the world, you are in university, you are in school, you have a job. These advice are for you, not only for the priest or for the brothers or for the sisters. They are for everybody. To look for conversation all the time, or to run away from this discussion is bad. What does it mean? To run away will be disdain and contempt for the other. You despise the other. There are some people, they never speak. There are some people, they are always sad, and they always run away from discussion. It's not a sign of virtue most of the time. A saint should never refuse to speak to someone, even if he is quiet. So those who never speak, never, who always refuse company of others, are in an excess. And this is bad. And it's a lack of charity at the end of the day. We despise others. But there is another excess. There are some people, they always look for conversation all the time. And that is a sign of idleness and futility, says Saint Francis. We speak all the time. We always look for an occasion to speak. And the problem is, once we are done with interesting things to speak about, what is remaining now? Now we We speak about useless things. We become idle, it's futile, and at the end of the day, we expose ourselves to sin mainly against charity. We start to speak about others, we start to gossip, to criticize others, and this is bad, of course. So to excess, we speak too much, we always look for discussion, and this is a sign of a soul, that the soul is completely dissipated. She cannot pray, she cannot think. But there is another excess, those who never speak. St. Francis now is telling us what we should do. We must love our neighbor as ourselves. This is what our Lord Jesus Christ is telling us in the Gospel. And it is the greatest commandment, to love God, first of all, and then to love our neighbor as ourselves. And to show that you love your neighbor, you must not avoid to be with him. This is common sense. If you truly love your neighbor, don't run away from him. You should not avoid to be with him sometimes, especially if you live in the same house, in the same school, in the same parish. You should not avoid his presence. But to show that you love yourself, you must remain within yourself when you are there. You cannot always speak. There are some moments where you need to be alone, just with yourselves, if you love yourselves. So this is what will guide us during this conference. If you truly love your neighbor, you must not avoid to be with him. But if you truly love yourself, you must find some time to be with yourself alone. And we are within ourselves when we are alone. We need solitude sometimes. We need to be alone. And this is a matter of charity at the end of the day. Charity for ourselves and charity for the other. If you love the other, don't run away from them. But if you love yourself, keep sometimes every day alone so that you can pray, so that you can think, as we will say. If there is no reason to look for company at a specific time during the day, stay alone. Remain within yourself and converse with your heart. Speak with your heart. Speak with God at the end of the day. Speak with God. Think about your life, about your activities, how you can grow, how you can avoid your mistake, how you can learn from your error. And this is an invitation to spiritual life. Spiritual life. We are not looking for emptiness. We are not Buddhist. The Buddhists, they spend a lot of time in meditation, but what are they trying to do? They try to escape from this world. They are looking for nothingness. They try to be empty, completely empty, to think about nothing. This is not at all the Christian approach of solitude. Spiritual life is a life. There is an action. We are speaking with God. We want to be alone because we want to pray. We want to meditate. We want to speak with God. And you can already understand that the world we are living in is your best enemy. We live in a noisy world. Not only because of the traffic, we cannot avoid this noise. We cannot avoid the noise of the fundi when they build a building. We cannot avoid the noise of the street. But go in a shop, there is always loud music. Go somewhere, go in a hospital, there is always a TV on with the media passing. Our world doesn't like silence. Our world doesn't want even to allow people to meditate. Our world is the best enemy of contemplation, of meditation. Too much noise. Impossibility to enter in ourselves sometimes. We are too much solicited by the noise that is outside, by the pictures that are outside. But now when you are alone, if company comes to you, so someone, you are praying or you are alone thinking about your next activity, if someone's come to you or some good reason invite you to seek for it, go in God's name and see your neighbor willingly and cheerfully. There are some moments when now it's time to get out of this time where you were alone, and now your duty of sight is calling you, it's time to speak. It's time to meet someone. It's time to even to laugh and to have some good moments with others. So again, it's a matter of balance. There are some moments we need to be with the other because we love them, with a love of charity. But there is also a time where we need to be alone with ourselves. And we cannot be always alone. Sometimes charity is asking us to leave our solitude, to go and speak with others. And that is mainly true for the religious people, of course. But even for you, dear youth, it's even for you. They are not. It's the priest and the religious people. They have to live a life of silence more than you. But even you, even if you are not a priest, if you are not a brother, you are not a sister, you need this silence in your life. And also, I think there is something we should do, all of us, is to respect the other. If we respect them, we should also respect their time of silence. Don't disturb the other when it's not the moment. If you see your friend is alone, he's busy reading a book or busy praying, and you have something to tell him, but maybe that thing could wait because it's not important. You can speak with him in 10 minutes. Wait, leave him alone. Leave her alone. Respect their silence. It does not always speak too much. Sometimes it can wait. There is a time for everything. Let us respect the silence and the solitude of the other sometimes. So this is a principle that will guide us during this full conference. We should speak, not too much, but we should speak because of charity. And we need this time where we are alone with ourselves sometimes, alone with ourselves and the good God. What about bad conversation? St. Francis mentioned them explicitly, and it means there is a need. The bad conversation are those made with bad intentions or made by those who are vicious, indiscreet, and dissolute. So I don't need to give you an example. You understand very well what St. Francis means. From such company, we must turn aside. We have no time to lose with people who are speaking bad things. We don't speak with them. We run away from them. It's exactly like when a cat sees a dog. When the cat sees a dog, it doesn't stay long in front of the dog. It runs away. Or maybe if the dog is Joy, the dog has a priority, the cat can stay because Joy is useless. But if a cat who sees a true dog, the cat runs away immediately. Okay. And this should be our attitude in front of people who are speaking bad things. We run away. We don't stay with them. We have no time to lose with this kind of people. Don't think that you will convert them. They will corrupt you. And this advice is especially for children and people of delicate constitution, says St. Francis. What does it mean? Because those two categories of people, the children and the people with a delicate constitution, they have a devotion that is still tender and delicate. And therefore it can be destroyed so easily, so quickly. For them, bad conversation it's like to be beaten by mad dogs. When you are beaten by a stupid dog, you still have the sweat, the breath, and the saliva infection of this dog on you. And this is a problem to be with bad friends who are speaking about bad things. They can really affect you with their words. They can really affect you. And even if you disagree with them, the evil has been done. They have spoken about something bad, and now it makes you think about it. And now you have some temptation that you will not have received if you were not speaking with them. You know maybe this proverb, tell me who is your friend and I will tell you who you are. If your friend is someone bad, you are already maybe, or you will be someone bad. So run away from bad friends because of their bad conversation. They can kill your soul. St. Francis now, after having spoken about bad conversation, speak about conversation during recreation time. They are important. They are not the most important, but they are important. They take place merely by way of diversion from serious occupation. We may devote them to the leisure meant for recreation, and this is the virtue that we call it the virtue of eutrapelia. When you do some sport, you do a lot of activity, after sometimes your body needs to rest. The same is happening with your soul. When you are working a lot, especially when you're a student, you have a lot of lessons, a lot of exams, there is a time where Your spirit, your mind is telling you, enough, stop now. I need to rest. I need to breathe. I need to think about something else. This is the virtue of, you need to practice the virtue of eutrapelia. So it is a time maybe for a good discussion about something funny with your friend. You laugh, you spend a good time, and this is good. It is good. It is good to laugh sometimes. And again, we need to be balanced. There are some people, they never laugh. They are sad people. Sad people. Like the door of a cemetery, we say in French. To live with such people is a calvary. You cannot rest. It's always serious. It's too serious. And life is becoming unbearable. And this is an excess. And it is a true excess. Don't believe, never think that saints were sad people. Saints were sometimes very funny people. Read the life of Saint Philippe de Néri. Saint Philippe de Néri was not a sad man. Not at all. Not at all. He used to make people laugh a lot. Saint John Bosco was someone funny also. He knew how to laugh. So we need to rest sometimes. We need to laugh. Not too much, of course, but we need to laugh. We need to have this moment of recreation when we speak with others. And again, we need balance. There is a time for everything. When it's time to work, it's not time to laugh. It's not time to speak about something funny. So we need to keep this balance. But this time of recreation are needed. And St. Francis is telling us that those conversations during recreation are important. And we should not run away from them. It would be a lack of charity and a lack of virtue. Now, other kind of discussion, some conversation have for goal civility, the virtue of civility. You live in a world, and sometimes you have to speak with your neighbor, for example. You are living in a big estate, and you have some neighbors, and you greet them every day when you pass. You have to speak to them. Don't ignore them. This is a lack of civility, it is a lack of virtue. Even if you are praying your rosary when you go back home, you stop your rosary, you greet the person, you answer the question if she has, and after you will continue praying. We have sometimes to visit each other. And it is something that in Africa people are doing very well. We always visit each other, especially in the village, and it is good. It is excellent. It is we practice the virtue of justice. We respect each other. There is a true social life. We need to have some meeting with others to speak about so many different things, about job, about family project. We have this meeting, we cannot run away from this meeting. They are needed, and so we need to speak. Even sometimes, what I'm saying about discussion with words, it can also be a discussion through the phone or through email. Sometimes you receive some email, you have to answer this email. Don't wait 1 year before to answer the question that someone has asked you, especially if this person is in trouble, if this person is in need of an answer. This is a virtue of civility. It's a virtue of charity at the end of the day. Someone is sending you a message about something important, answer the message. Don't wait 10 months before to answer. But St. Francis again here is asking us to be balanced. We should not be too scrupulously exact to fulfill them. We are not always in a hurry, it can wait sometimes. But also, don't be so impolite as to neglect them. If you receive a message on your phone, if you are speaking with someone, don't answer the message now. You will answer later. Okay, when you finish the discussion. If you receive the message during your prayer, you are praying the rosary, don't stop your prayer to answer the message. This you are going too quickly. It can wait. But don't wait 10 years before to answer this message. And again, it's a matter of balance. Do your duty with modesty so as to avoid boorishness or rudeness, if you want, on the one hand, and scrupulousness on the other. And that is very important. And we live in a world, again, where this civility disappears more and more. You go in a matatu, nobody speaks. Nobody speaks. Everybody has earphone, or there is loud music, you cannot hear each other. So everybody ignore everybody. There is no social life. You go in a train in France, everybody is quiet. Everybody has earphones in the ear. No social life, no interaction. And when you ask something to someone, you feel that you are disturbing this person. It's not normal. We live in the same world. People are living most of the time in another world. They live at another place. They are on their phone, they have their earphones, and they are not there. But they are with you, but they are not there. and they cannot speak to you. This is an excess. It should not be like that. We should not always we should not always disturb people, yes, but we have to speak with them, we have to smile to them, we have to greet them. And it's, most of the time, we realize that there are some part of the world where people are still very lively. In Kenya they are, in Italy they are. What is beautiful in Italy, especially in the small village, is when you go somewhere, you walk in the street, and you live there, you need 10 minutes to cross the street because you meet 10 people and everybody is greeting you. It's very pleasant to live in such place. When you go in Paris now, you meet 1 million of people in one day and nobody speaks to you. And that is not normal. It is not normal. We live in the same world. We have to speak to each other. It's a matter of charity. You cannot greet 1 million people, of course, but when someone is greeting you, you can answer. Sometimes when you greet someone that you meet in the street, the person is looking at you like, why are you greeting me? What did I do to you? Don't look at me. Go your way. That is not good. It's not normal. We don't ignore the people who are living around us. It's not normal to not know the name of the people who is working in the same office as you after 1 year. You should speak with him. You are working in the same office. It's not normal not to know the name of your classmate if you are only 20 in the classroom after 2 months of school. You should know the name of your friend in your class. You should know, you should speak with them. Don't ignore them. It's a lack of charity. It's not a sign of virtue. The saints would not have done that. They would have spoken with everybody. Well, that is important also. And St. Francis continue about another kind of discussion. You know, he's speaking about the good one, the useful one, the most important one. It is a conversation you can have with people who are full of this devotion and full of virtue, with saints at the end of the day. People of devotion, people of virtue. It will always be a great good for you to often meet them and to be with them and to speak with them. The more you are with good people, the more you become good. And so you need to be often with these people, to speak often with good people. And it is why it's good to have good friends, especially when we are a youth, especially when you are in school, in university. If you run away from bad friends, it's not because you want to be alone all the time, no. It's because you don't want to be with bad people. But you need to be with good people who can support you. We all face so many challenges in our life, in our spiritual life, even in our natural life. It's difficult to be a saint. And when you meet good people who have the same problem than you realize that you are not alone, and that is helping you. And you can now work together. You can pray together. You can receive good example from others, and you can give the good example to others. You can advise people, and you can also receive advice for your own life. And these conversations are excellent when you are with good people. You are like, it's exactly like a vine planted among olives. It gives excellent grapes, and one day an excellent wine. The same for the soul. The soul among virtuous persons cannot fail to participate in their qualities. If you live always with good people, you will receive their good example, their influence, and you will become good yourself. Great advantage. There is a great advantage to be and to speak with good people. It helps us to do what we cannot do alone. And again, we are social beings. We live in a society. We are not living alone. And all of you, none of you has a even me, we don't have a vocation of hermit. We have not been called to live in the desert like some saints. So we live a social life, and we cannot make it alone. We need good friends. We need good companies, people who can support us, people who can help us to do what we cannot do alone. When we are speaking now in our conversation, what should be our qualities? We have seen that there are many kinds of discussion, bad one, conversation during recreation, conversation of the daily life, conversation with good people. How should be our discussion when we are speaking now? St. Francis says that there are especially some virtues that must be there. In all social discussion, candor, simplicity, gentleness, and modesty are always to be desired. So candor, kindness, simplicity. We need to be simple. We should not be complicated people. Gentleness and modesty. They have always to be desired. Do not disturb when you are speaking. Do not disturb people. Do not annoy people with your lack of countenance, with too much gesture. There are some people, when they speak, after 2 seconds, we are already tired to listen to them because it's too much. Too much gesture, no countenance. That is not it's a lack of simplicity. Imagine someone who will be always singing. He's not speaking, he always sings all the time. After 5 minutes, you ask him to keep quiet. 5 minutes if you are patient, 20 seconds if you are not patient. And that makes life become a problem. Okay, there is no countenance. No, it's too much. It would annoy others. So we need countenance. We need countenance. It's exactly the same for those who put an affected manner in the way they are speaking. When they speak, they are not themselves. It's a lack of simplicity. There is someone, but he tries to speak like someone else. He's too much. He's speaking with an affected manner. Who do nothing by measure. Some people, it's always too much. The lack of simplicity. And these people are very troublesome. Those are not my words, they are the word of a saint, of Saint Francis. Those people are troublesome. And in such persons, there is always some sort of presumption. At the end of the day, this lack of countenance that we have in our discussion sometimes, and all of us, we lack of countenance sometimes, maybe it's coming because of pride, of presumption. We want to show off. We pretend to be someone that we are not. And this is a lack of simplicity, and at the end of the day, it is pride. Our discussion should be moderate, and moderate is not a contradiction with happiness. At the same time, our discussion should be simple, moderate, but it should also be full of happiness. We should always be happy when we speak. A moderate joy should ordinarily predominate in our discussions with others. We should always be happy. And this happiness should be shared with others in the discussion. Saint Romuald, Saint Anthony of the Desert, those were eremites. They were living a life full of penance, and they were praying all the time, but they were always happy in the middle of their austerities. And they were always happy when they were speaking with people, and they were sharing this happiness. Again, a saint is not someone sad. A saint is not someone sad. A saint spread happiness around him, especially in his words, in his discussion. It is why when you speak with someone, smile. Smile. Don't be always serious. Don't be always serious. It's scary to speak with people who are always serious. Spread this happiness around you, especially when it is time for recreation. And it is what St. Paul wants us to do. Rejoice with them that rejoice. Rejoice always, but in the Lord, and let your modesty be known by others to all men. So you can be modest and happy at the same time. It is a beautiful act of charity to make people smile sometimes. There are some people, they are always sad. Make them smile, and you will do something good. You will do something good. But how can your joy be in the Lord? Because the problem is we are always tempted or to be too much or not enough. So some people naturally they are not enough happy. They don't speak enough, but there are some other people naturally they will be too happy. It will go too far. So how can our joy be in the Lord? There are two qualities. The joy, this happiness should be lawful, so we should laugh about something good. It should not be a sin, a lack of charity. And it should be, as he says, befitting. It should fit with the situation. Because there are some things that are lawful, but it's not the moment to laugh. For example, you made people laugh during the ceremony of a requiem mass. It's a burial, and you make people laugh during the ceremony. when everybody is mourning about something indifferent. To laugh about that things in another situation would be good and lawful, but because you are in a requiem mass, it's not the moment to laugh when everybody cries. And that is not good. And that is not to be happy in the Lord, not at all. There is a time for everything. And how can our modesty appear now? How can we be modest at the same time? St. Francis says, refrain from rudeness, which is always reprehensible. Don't be rude. To trip up one, to make another dirty, such things are foolish and impertinent jokes and amusement. And St. Francis concludes his chapter about discussion, speaking about solitude. The fact of being alone. And all of us, we need this solitude. Even if you are a priest living in a community with many people, you need this time of solitude. Even if you are married, you need this time of solitude. Beside the mental solicitude to which you can retire amidst the most important affair, you should love actual solitude of place. Saint Francis is not asking us to go and to live in a desert, like Saint Mary of Egypt, like Saint Mary Magdalene, who found a grotto and spent the rest of her life in this grotto alone, like Saint Anthony of the desert, like the father of the desert. They were doing incredible penance, and even very funny penance sometimes. No, we didn't receive this call, at least not now. And so Saint Francis is not asking us to leave the world and to live in a desert, no. But to be alone a little while, sometime, in your bedroom, or in your garden, or where you want, elsewhere. But we need this time where we are alone, in a place, if possible, where we are alone. For example, the bedroom, or the garden, or elsewhere. And why should we be alone? So that you can withdraw your spirit into your heart and recreate your soul with good reflection and hold it out, or with a little good reading. So it's good for your soul, it is also good for your intelligence. This silence, no distraction, no people to speak with, no smartphone, no TV, you are alone. Alone with God, alone with yourself, and you can think. You can think. And maybe today, if people were thinking more, we will not have all the problems we have today. And this solitude was practiced by all the saints. For example, Saint Gregory of Nazianzen, he's one of the fathers of the church, who speaking of himself said, I used to walk by myself about sunset and used to spend my time by the seashore, for I was accustomed to make use of this recreation to refresh myself and to shake off some of my ordinary troubles. And thereupon he proceeds to tell of the good thoughts which he had, of which I have spoken to you elsewhere. And there is another example, is the example of Saint Ambrose. Saint Ambrose, of whom Saint Augustine says that often when he entered into his room, so the room of Saint Ambrose, for entrance was denied to no one, Saint Ambrose was always ready to welcome you, even when he was alone and busy. You see his charity, always ready if there is a need to speak with someone. But he was alone. He found him reading. And after having waited for some time, for fear of disturbing this saint, he went away without saying a word, thinking that the little time which this great pastor had for the reinvigoration and refreshment of his spirit, after the preoccupation of such a multitude of affairs, ought not to be taken away from him. We need to find to identify in our life, we need to be realistic, but we need to identify some places where we can be alone. So if you live in a village, it's easy. You go and walk, and you are alone. And you can do, for a short while, you are not the full day, but 10 minutes, and you go. And it's good for you. If you live near the sea, in Mombasa, that is even the best. You go when the sun is is leaving, it is the end of the day. You have something beautiful to see in front of you, you are alone, and that makes you think, that makes you pray. And it's good for your soul, it's good for your intelligence. Or you are in a mountain, you live near Mount Kenya, And they are it's so beautiful there. And Kenya is full of beautiful places. The problem is when you live in Nairobi. Nairobi is not beautiful. And it is not. And it is difficult. It is difficult to find a place where we are alone. It is difficult to find beautiful places. They are. And we need to find them. And we need to go there. We can go, there are some forests. There is if you live in Nairobi, you know them. Karura Forest, there is Ngong Forest. The problem is you always need to pay to enter in this forest. So not anybody can go there. So where are we going? In your room. But if you live in an estate and your neighbor put a lot of music the full day, how can you be alone? How can you rest easily? It's difficult. You go in the parish. Why not? You can decide to go to daily mass and to have some time of silence when you attend mass. That is a very good solution. You can visit there are some parish, there are some beautiful places. For example, Resurrection Garden. It's in Karen. Resurrection Garden, it's completely peaceful, completely quiet, and you could plan to go there sometimes just to be in silence and to pray. It is important. It is important to be alone. And you go there without your phone. You leave it in your house. And you stay there 1-2 hours and after you come back. It is so important for us. We need this moment of silence. We need this moment of solitude to be with God, to think, to pray. And that will make you wiser. That will make you shine. That will make you a good example for the other. And if you do that, you will be able to speak after with the other about good things. You will spread with them this happiness. So again, we need this balance. We need to speak. It is important. Don't keep quiet. Especially when your religion is attacked, like today. Especially when people need advice, need guidance. You cannot run away from them. So speak. But don't speak all the time. And love to be alone sometimes. And these advice are not only for the priest. Again, it's for all of us here. Of course, religious people are supposed to live from that more than the other. A religious should be more quiet than someone living in the world. It is normal. Because a religious is a man of God and he is speaking with God much more than others. He should. Each time when you read the Gospel, especially the Gospel of St. Luke, you read the Gospel of St. Luke, and each time Jesus has to go and preach somewhere, before he goes and pray, and the gospel always says that Jesus leaves a place and go in a place alone. It can be the desert, it can be a mountain, and Jesus pray alone somewhere. Come apart into a desert place and rest a little. It is what Jesus told his apostles. We need this moment of solitude. So if you want to be balanced, you have to do both. If you love yourself, you should be alone. You should find for solitude sometimes. But if you love the other, don't run away from them. Speak with them. Make them smile. Oh, the people who are living around us today are so sad people. Make them smile. Make them laugh about something good. This is what St. Francis wanted to tell us about discussion. So we need to be balanced. Something else now about dressing. And this is important because, again, we live in a society. And the way we dress has an impact on the other. It can have a good impact. It can spread even a message. It can give a message. It can also have a bad impact on the other. Saint Paul, and from the beginning, allow me to make it clear, what I will say about the lady is also true for men. I'm not speaking only about lady. It's also true for men. So what I say about the lady, you have men, it's also for you. Saint Paul wishes devout women, and the same must be understood of men, to be clothed in a decent way, adorning themselves. So adorning is not, it means it's not bad to be beautiful. Adorning themselves with modesty and sobriety. Modesty and sobriety. It should be not too much, but it should not be not enough. Again, it's a problem of balance. And that depends on 3 elements. Cleanliness, material, and form. Cleanliness, first of all. We have to be clean. It is an advice given by a saint in the 16th century, and this advice is still true today. We have to be clean. We should not allow any sort of stain and dirt to remain upon us, on our clothes. Now, this is not very spiritual, but why are we speaking about that? Because exterior cleanliness reflects, in some ways, interior probity. The way we are dressing most often shows how our soul is. God is asking that those who approach his altar, so all of us, we go to Mass almost every day, some of us, those who are approaching his altar every day, they have to be clean. It's a sign of devotion. It's a sign of respect. It's normal. It's a matter of respect. And the same could be understood about smell, actually. Saint Paul says that in the second epistle to the Corinthians, we are the good odor of Christ unto God. So this is the first thing about dressing. We should be clean. As for matter and form, now, the two other elements, it depends. How should we dress? Which costume should we dress? Should I wear a dress red or yellow or a trouser today? It depends. We need to look at circumstances of time, of age, of qualities, or condition of life. We should also look at the company and the occasion. Ordinarily, we dress better on feast days. Yes. According to the importance of the feast. When you go to Mass on Sunday, especially if it is Sunday, Easter Sunday, you don't go to Mass with the t-shirt of Chelsea. Okay? You don't go to Mass with a t-shirt. You put your most beautiful clothes. Even with a t-shirt of Arsenal, it doesn't matter. You go with your most beautiful clothes. You don't go to Mass to play football. So there is a time for everything. The same way there is a time to speak and there is a time to keep quiet. There is a time where you wear your t-shirt and there is a time where you wear your most beautiful clothes when you go to Mass. Mass is not sports time. You understand? And that is because of circumstances. When it is Lent, or for example, you go for a ceremony of burial, you don't go with white clothes. But if it is the day of a marriage of your best friend, of your family member, you don't go with dark clothes as if it was a burial. Of course, but that is common sense. But I have seen that. I've been invited to a marriage, and I saw people dressing like if it was a burial. When you do that, you gravely lack of charity for the other. You make them think that the marriage was not a good idea. It's not good. There is a time for everything, and we should dress according to the circumstance, to the situation. Let's say now you visit a king or prince. We put on, this is what St. Francis says, our richer garments, which we put off when we are at home. Yes. My grandfather used to tell me when I was a teenager, if you go to see the president, what kind of clothes will you wear? So I was telling him the most beautiful, of course, because it's an honor. And after he was telling me, so when you go to Mass on Sunday, you should put the same, or even better, because God is more important than the president. And he was right. On Sunday, we put on our most beautiful clothes. It is a day where people, Catholic, should dress very well. We put our most beautiful clothes. But it's not only about Mass or about marriage, and it's about daily life also. A married woman may and has to adorn herself when she is with her husband, because she has to please to her husband. It's normal and it is good. And again, what we say about the ladies, we have to say the same about men. It's normal to please your wife and to please the husband. But if now this lady, if she does the same when the husband is far, is not around, people will start asking what eye she wishes to please by this particular care. She is dressing very, very, very well. It seems she tried to please someone, but the husband is not here. So who is she trying to please? And you can see that here now there is a disorder. There is something that is not correct. It doesn't mean that we have to be ugly when the husband is not around. But again, it's a matter of balance. If you try to please someone, you have to please a good person, because it's not always allowed to please people too much. And now about young ladies, and it's true and the same. Again, keep in mind what I say about ladies is the same for men. St. Francis says, neither it is wrong for marriageable, more finery is allowed to girls because they can quite lawfully seek to please many, although they should only do so in order to win one, not many, to win one by holy marriage. So it's not allowed, it's not forbidden to try to be beautiful, to find a husband, as long as you choose only one, and you do that in a lawful marriage. So again, it's a matter of balance. Not too much or not enough. Girls, young girls who are looking for a husband, they can dress very well, of course, and they have to. They have to. But if now you are a widow, an old widow, you don't practice. You will not dress the same. Neither it is wrong for marriageable widows to adorn themselves somewhat, provided that they display no light-mindedness, because since they have already been mother of family and have passed through the sorrows of widowhood, they are considered to be more mature and well regulated in spirit. But as to true widows, we are such not only in body but also in heart. No ornaments become them, but humility, modesty, and devotion. Those are the clothes of the widow. Humility, modesty, and devotion. For if they wish to bestow love on men, they are not true widows. And if they do not wish to bestow it, why do they wear the trappings thereof? And to help us to understand again, St. Francis used an example. He that does not wish to receive customer in his hotel must take down the signboard from his house. One day, St. Francis de Sales was the spiritual director of Saint Jeanne de Chantal. And Saint Jeanne de Chantal was a widow. And one day she was dressed in a very beautiful way. And St. Francis de Sales looked at Saint Jeanne de Chantal and told her, "Are you looking for a second husband?" She said, "No, not at all." Okay, maybe you should put off the signboard now, okay, because it's like you are looking for someone now. And she understood the message. So again, it's a matter of balance. And Saint Francis says that it is foolishness. Those old people who dress like people of 20 years old are foolish. We see that sometimes, maybe not in Kenya, but I've seen that in Europe. You see someone very old dressing like, first of all, it's immodest, but like someone of 20 years old. It's foolish. Foolish. The word used by the saints. It is a foolishness which is to be tolerated only in youth, said Saint Francis. So we need to be clean. We need to be neat. Let there be nothing untidy about you or that fits badly. When your clothes are too small, you change them, you buy new one. When they are too old, you change them, you buy new one. Not to do so is to despise people, because again, we live in a society. You are not alone. You live surrounded by other people, and you have to make their life happy and pleasant. But at the same time, run away from affectation, vanity, singularity, and levity, of course. Always keep as much as possible on the side of simplicity and modesty, which is without doubt the best adornment of beauty and the best excuse for ugliness. It is interesting, I repeat. Always keep as much as possible on the side of simplicity and modesty, which is without doubt the best adornment of beauty and the best excuse for ugliness. Saint Peter is condemning those men, those women who pay attention too much about their clothes, about the way they look like. To be too much attentive at that is not a guarantee, is not a sign of chastity most of the time. And St. Francis concludes saying that, for my part, I would have my devout persons, whether men or women, the best dressed of the company. St. Francis de Sales is asking us to be the best. not only in our discussion, not only in our mortification, in our good example, but even in the way we are dressing. We should be the best. We have to be the best. If we truly love our neighbor, if we love God, we should try to be the best at all levels, not because of pride, but because we love our neighbor, because we love our God. We should be the best. We should dress the best way. But with the least pomp and affectation, and it is said in the book of Proverbs, as it is said in the book of Proverbs, adorned with a good taste, propriety, and dignity. Good taste. Okay, there are some colors that are not matching together. Okay, you don't put maroon and yellow together. Propriety and dignity. And for that, it's good to be in good school where you can be taught these good things. Saint Louis, King of France, was saying, each one should dress according to his condition of life. So if you're a fundi or if you're a president, you will not dress the same. But the fundi and the president on Sunday, still, they have to put on their most beautiful clothes. So that the wise and good way not to be able to say, you do too much, nor the young person, you do too little. It's a problem of balance. Should the young be unwillingly to rest satisfied with propriety, we must abide by the counsel of the wise. And to conclude, I just would like to tell you what Saint Thomas Aquinas is saying about the same. He speaks about modesty in the Summa Theologica. And when he speaks about modesty, he means 4 things. Modesty helps us to contain the desire for our own excellency and to humility. It's helping us to contain the desire of knowing, practicing studiositas. It's helping us to play well as we should, not too much. This is the virtue of atrapelia. And lastly, modesty is helping us in the way we should dress. And this is related to the virtue of simplicity. Simplicity is the virtue that will help you to dress well. Because we can see in 2 ways. By excess. Some people dress because of pride, and that is not good. Some people look for corporal well-being only. Corporal well-being. And they are not happy with little. It is always too much. They are playing football with the clothes they wear for the Mass on Sunday, Easter Sunday, because they want to look like nice. No, when you play football, you put the correct clothes. Some people sin by excess also because of exaggerated solicitude. It's a lack of simplicity. But some people now, they lack also of virtue by default. Negligence. Because they are lazy, they don't even care about the colors they put on. And that is again the book of Proverbs. There is a lack of taste in the way they dress. Lack of taste. And that is again social life. We are surrounded by people who look like not beautiful. It's not pleasant. And that is a sin of laziness. It is negligence. And also because of pride. There are some people, they are hypocrites. And they dress badly so that we can say they are humble. What they want is to be honored. And that is hypocrisy. Saint Thomas tells us there are 4 reasons to wear good clothes. The clothes has 4 purposes. First of all, it's protection against cold and hot. So it is very hot, okay, very, very, very hot. You understand that we don't come with a big mavin, etc. When you go to Mombasa, this is the first goal of the clothes, is to protect against cold and against the heat. The clothes also has a social dimension. It shows a disposition or a state. When you see the soldier with his uniform, you understand he is a soldier. When you see the priest with his cassock, you understand he is a priest. And that's why his clothes are important. And that is why a priest should wear a cassock and not to be dressed like a layman. It's not normal for a priest to be dressed like a layman. If there is a persecution, you can understand, you can hide. But the priest should wear a cassock. Number 3, it shows human beauty, and that is an aesthetic reason. And lastly, since the original sin, it hides what the pudor asks us to hide. It is obvious. And so those are the 4 reasons given by St. Thomas for the clothes. But again, to conclude, to summarize what we said since this morning, let us be balanced people. And St. Francis made us understand today that we are social beings. We live in a society. If you about discussion, if you love your neighbor, you cannot run away from him. You have to speak to him. You have to be available. But if you love yourself, you also need to find time for you and to live in solitude sometimes. Solitude of place. Find a place where you can be alone. And if you do both, then you will always speak good things. And about dressing, lastly, Saint Thomas and even Saint Francis are telling us to be balanced. Not too much or not enough, or not too little. Let us ask during this rosary that we are going to pray in 5 minutes, let us ask for the grace to be balanced people. It's difficult to be balanced. And for that, let us receive the sacrament. Maybe let us go for confession today. Let us receive the Holy Eucharist during the Mass. Let us meditate and make some good resolution during the weekend so that we can continue to grow in holiness and practice this virtue of justice in our discussion and in our dressing. We finish with a word of prayer.